Hi everyone, my name is Mickey Silva and I am part of the Principles of Marketing class taught by Heath Anderson. And today I want to talk about the steps to the personal selling process. Now there are 5 steps which I'm going to break down each and every single one, but um just to tell you guys what those steps are. The first one is to generate and qualify leads. The second is the pre-approach. The third is the sales presentation and overcoming reservations. The fourth is closing the sale, and the fifth and final one is the follow-up. So to start off with the first one is to generate and qualify leads. Now, this means that a salesperson, they must generate a list of potential customers, or they're also known as the leads, and access their potential, which means that they need to qualify. So in this step, a salesperson from this particular organization or company does a lot of different varieties of research. So they can do this research on the internet. They can go to different networking events to try to attract customers, or they can even make these type of phone calls called cold calls. Now, cold calls are when salesperson either call or they can meet up a customer face to face, but they do this without an appointment. So if you get like a random phone call from a company and they're trying to promote it and get your attention, that's an example of a cold call. And another example of a cold call is telemarketing. But however, this is only done over the phone. Like I said, cold calls is can either be face to face or on the phone without an appointment. Well, telemarketing is just on the phone. And then another good way to get your company out there is by going to trade shows. The trade show is when a buyer is exposed to a product or a service offered by a potential supplier in an industry. Now, this leads us to our second step, which is the pre-approach. Now, this is when a salesperson must conduct research and develop plans before meeting with their customer. This is very important because you do not want to walk into a room full of customers without a game plan. They must have done their background and make sure they are ready to present and ready to answer any of their questions. Now, in order to do this, a lot of the times they get some information by going through their CRM system, and with this gives the salesperson access to the customer and data warehouse where they have recorded transaction information, customer contact information, and also information about a customer's preference. And before going into the presentation, a lot of times a salesperson, they like to get with their employees and do this thing called role playing. So where one's gonna show their presentation and the other one's gonna act as if they're the customer to see how in a real life situation what their reaction might be, and from there they know what to fix and what not to fix. Okay, this leads us to the third step, which is the actual presentation. Now, as I said, there's steps to the personal selling process, but there's also steps to the buying process as well that you need to establish during your presentation, such as you need to let your customer know the recognition of what you're trying to provide for them, product specification, the RFP process, proposal analysis and supplier selection, the order specification, and performance assessment. All of this can be done in your presentation, and as long as this is done, then you're doing a great job. Now, during this, the salesperson also has to understand that they don't always need to be in control. It's okay if they allow the customers to feel free to ask questions, or um, let them take the floor as well, because if you give that opportunity to a customer, then they're going to feel comfortable in that space, and it is very important what you do on a first impression, because that could make or break the customer and whether or not they're going to even take interest in what you're trying to do, which leads us to closing the sale. Now, this is when you obtain a commitment from the customer whether or not they're going to make the purchase or not. Now, this is very important because you don't want to go through all the work of doing your presentation, during your speech, and they don't commit. So in order to make sure that they commit to what you're trying to say and create a loyalty and relationship to you, you need to make a good salesperson always listens carefully to what the customer is saying back to them, and they pay attention to their body language. If you pay attention to a person's body language, that can give you a feel of what of what they're feeling. So for example, if someone is slouching the whole entire time while you're talking to them or while you're presenting, or if they're on their phone, then you know that you're not interested and you know that you're wasting your time. But if you have someone and that they're engaged and they're making great eye contact, you're hooked. You have them hooked, and you might as well, you gotta go in for the kill. So that's why closing the sale is very important. And even though sometimes it doesn't always work out, don't it should never discourage a salesperson, because there's always tomorrow, there's always more people that you can always attract. And the last step is the follow-up. Now, after you close the sale and you create a relationship, you want to make sure this relationship is for a long time. This is when you solidify the customer relationship through great service quality. You don't just get them for the sale, and once you finally got them in, you just dish them out to the side and try to get somebody else new. No, when you get the customer to commit to your organization or to what you're trying to sell, and you make sure they stay with you for years or months, as long as possible. Now, this can be accomplished with these 5 steps. The first one being reliability. Now, that is when the organization is they deliver the right products and the service on time. You need to be very prompt. If you say that you're going to deliver if you order this t-shirt and you're going to get it in 10 days, you need to make sure you're there, that your customer gets it in 10 days. Because if not, you're therefore not reliable, and you're not going to get the customer's trust. The next one is responsiveness, which is when an organization needs to be ready to deal quickly with an issue, questions, or any specific product problems of their customers. If you're not responsive to what they're telling you and you're not willing to fix it, then what is the point? They're gonna It's like the same thing with reliability. You're not gonna build their trust, and you're not gonna have their loyalty, and they're gonna take their money somewhere else. Assurance. Assurance is when you have to be assured, a customer is assured through adequate guarantees that their purchase performance is as expected. So if, for example, if a customer buys a specific product that says like it's a smoothie blender, and when they get that product and it doesn't do its job, then it's a defective product, and therefore you're not creating assurance between you and your customer. The last one is empathy. The second to last one is empathy, which is when you have a good understanding of the problems and issues from your customers. Once you know what the problems is, you need to not only be there to fix it, but to understand where they're coming from, and then you can fix it from there. Because if you don't understand the problem, then you can't fix it. So if you don't have that relationship between you and your customers, then nothing will improve from there. And the last one is tangibles. Now, a lot of times this may go overlooked, but if you were to order something online and it comes to you and it is poorly packaged, then that customer is going to feel as if the company did not even take an interest in delivering the product. Like uh, a product's appearance is very important. Just like in a game, if a team was to come out with like their shirts untucked, their belts were loose, their pants were saggy, that is very poor fashion sense and not a good role that you want to have. So it's just a poor appearance overall, and that goes the same way with your company. If you're going to deliver something to your customer, you want to make sure you're professional and that you are appropriate. So that was the 5 steps that I had to present today. And if you have any questions, please look at this reference sheet where you can go through the book and you can read more about it. But thank you for watching this. Thank you for letting me take up your time, and I hope you have a better understanding of the personal process.